Yeah. Jonno, looks like you're probably up then.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. We've got Jonno's here. Okay. Jonno says, I've been in a weird, meandering relationship with someone for a while to see if we can make it work. And after a lot of thinking and talking, I guess I don't know what it means to be in a relationship. I can't figure out what it means to be more than friends, and we can be that. Interesting.
Yeah.
So is your question, Jonno? Okay, can't figure out what it means to be more than friends. So that's probably a moving target, depending on who it is you're dealing with. So,
Been a weird meandering relationship. Someone. Huh.
can't figure out what it means to be more than friends, and we can be that. So,
Okay.
and then he says, honestly, I just came here because I was a bit confused. Sorry for the weird question.
Yeah. I think it's a good question. Yeah. Okay. So what is a relationship versus a friendship? You know, I think that's a good question. And it's a question that it should be answered. For me, a friendship is definitely, one of the best things you can have in relations to another person. And a relationship is something that you choose to be in, or a romantic relationship, whatever you want to call it, is when you've decided you want to dedicate your life to them. And what I mean by that is you really should just be having a relationship or choosing to go steady with someone, or whatever you want to call it, dating, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. If your intention is to eventually marry that person, if you look at somebody and you say, this is a person that I would want to spend my life with, then they're worth, seeing if you can do that. Of course, there's nothing wrong with dating someone you don't really know yet. That's part of the process. Maybe you can go on a date with them, but that's all just stuff you can do as friends anyways. You can go to a movie with your friends. You can go out to eat with your friends. Those are all things you do with your friends. And there's no difference. The only difference is your level of dedication. Are you trying to say that, hey, I'm going to be in your life and I want to be there for whatever struggle you have, and, and etc. You can do that for your friends too, right? But there comes a point where you might choose to live with them. And in that scenario, and get married to them, in that scenario, then you have something different. You can move in with your friends too, but you're not going to be romantic with them. And ultimately, the main difference between friendship and a relationship like that's romantic is the marriage side of it. Honestly, when it boils down, everything is possible in friendship that you would do with your partner, other than a few very fine details, which are all included in marriage. So I would say that if you're looking at someone and intentionally wanting to have that form of relationship with them, so much so that you want to dedicate the rest of your life saying, only them will I do this with, only them will I, make a family with, only them for the rest of my life, then you have something that's more than a friendship. Friends you can have plenty of, and you can treat them all differently, but great, fantastic. But there's certain parts of a friendship and a marriage that are different, including things like shared finances, and children, and taking care of each other in all of those kind of ways that are specific to a marriage. There's a lot that's different, but a lot that's the same. All of these things, you can always love your friends. You can love them deeply. And you can treat them like they're the most important thing in the world, even though they're just a friend, right?
Mm-hmm.
But once you have a spouse, you've now dedicated your life to separate yourself and sacrifice yourself for that person in a very unique and special way. So a relationship ultimately is designed to build up to that. So that's really the main difference. If you have a person that you're friends with and don't really have a need to go any further than that, there's no reason to just stop at friendship. You know, but I don't know. That's just kind of like what I'm thinking about in this situation, this scenario. But it's just kind of one side of the coin. And I'm curious. I'm sure I'll have a little bit more to say later on, but I'm curious to see what Joe has to say in respect to all of this.
Yeah, it is very interesting because there does seem to be different levels of friendship, and and somewhere along the line you cross into the you cross the threshold into romance or
right,
something of that nature, and that's specifically designed to attract us to one another so that we will end up getting married and furthering the species. That's kind of how those feelings were kind of designed to enable us to continue creating more humans. So
yeah.
So at some point you kind of cross into that realm of things. But like Ryan was talking about, when you get to that point, it really is a very sacrificial life you've chosen, where now it's no longer you, but it's you and this other person. And
Always.
Yes. And that's, yeah. So.
Yeah, when you have friendship, life is still about you, and your friends are kind of separate. But in a relationship, yeah, it's you and your wife, or you and your spouse, whatever it is, no matter what. And every big decision you make, you affect both of you. So you have to be a little bit more careful about your life choices, because and it's good to talk about them with your spouse in that respect.
Right. So one thing that's great about that is, there's a new level of closeness between the two of you. There are new levels of love that kind of get unlocked, and you're a little bit closer together and a little bit closer knit. But what that also does is that opens you up to deeper hurts. So when something happens, I mean, one way you can tell if your relationship has gotten to a point of being more than just friends is if, like Ryan was talking about, you are doing something with another person and that person gets jealous. It awakens some jealousy. Now you've got a little bit stronger of a relationship that's a little bit more
usually
it's tough to say, because you talk about that relationship is stronger, but it's also more fragile because it's more open to offense. It's really weird.
It's the bond is more, would you say, fragile. What's the word? I'm forgetting the word, but anyways, definitely more. I think fragile is a good enough word for it. Yeah. The bond is closer and thus more vulnerable. That's the word I was looking for.
Yes.
You're more vulnerable to them, but because of that vulnerability, you're also more changed and able to increase and grow, or do the opposite, fall back and become worse.
Right. Excuse me. But one thing to always remember as you're going and navigating through these relationships, I think something to keep in mind, as Ryan was talking about, the more romance that kind of comes into the situation, the more you want to start really thinking, okay, what would it be like if I married this person? Because that's kind of the direction it's moving toward. And if you can't see yourself making that level of commitment, then I wouldn't venture too far down the romance road, because at that point, when you go that far and you develop that close of a connection with someone, it will hurt that much more when if it ever was to sever. So the further down the road you get into being more than just friends, it's fine to date, and it's fine to, you know, get to know people at a deeper level and to experience some of those feelings of love. But the further you go down the road of romance, the more you want to have somewhere in your mind, okay, can I see myself marrying this person? And if not, it might be a good idea to put the brakes on a little bit and continue the friendship if you can, without going so far into the romance. And I know that's tough to do. You know, sometimes our hearts lead us down that road, and we just can't help it, and we just go with it.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes then you get hurt, and that's how you learn these lessons. You know?
Yep.
I've been hurt plenty of times. And one thing that's funny is, now having been married for like 10, 11 years or so, more than a decade. After it was 10 years, I was like, well, hey, you know, whatever. But you learn that the pain doesn't always stop. You're going to have arguments. You're going to have issues. There's going to be things that happen. Drama is going to happen. Life is going to happen. Different stuff is going to come into your life, and it's going to hurt. And relationship struggles, it's always like we hurt the people closest to us the most. That's almost kind of what it is to be human. That's part of our broken human condition, I suppose, is that the people we're close to, we end up hurting them to some degree. And we just can't help it, because we're not perfect. We can't ever do anything to be perfect. And so somebody's going to get hurt, and we might not even mean to do it, but, you know, it's going to hurt somebody's feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And going through that can build strength in you if you realize that that's going to happen, and can remind yourself that, hey, this is how life is. It's not that big a deal. Yes, it hurts. Yes, we have to work through it. But that's kind of how life is. Sometimes things happen and it hurts. But I will tell you this. The further you go down that road, and I don't necessarily know exactly how you tell when you cross the line from friendship to more than friendship. I think there are a lot of different factors. I think it depends a bit on who it is you're dealing with, the type of person they are, and the type of person you are. But I think one thing that is a sign is when you start to have that exclusivity, where you're doing something with this person and you think to yourself, okay, if they were doing this same thing with another person, I would be upset about it. When that starts to happen, now you know your feelings have gone beyond, and there's a little bit more of a romance side to things. There's a little bit more of an exclusivity there, and vice versa for the other person as well. I think that's one of the telltale signs. So that's about the best I got so far. Ryan, can you clean this up for me? Because
yeah, let me just get the mop out and just swipe the screen a few times and just make everything all nice and clean and wet. So no, honestly, I don't have a whole lot more on this subject. I think that there's an emotional and a logical side to relationships, and both are very important and very strong and powerful. You can't really have a strong relationship without strong emotional connections, usually tied to memories or experiences, or just feelings that you have for someone because you want to get to know them more. And that's a lot of times a part of a relationship is that emotion. But there's something that goes beyond that, and that is logic, and then something else other than that, and that is will and commitment. And so you have logic and wisdom, which work and act together to create bonds and create good scenarios and to help you along your path in romance. But then you have, your will or your dedication. And that is that which says, I'm going to love you no matter what happens. And that's required too. I think you need all three. And so when it comes to a relationship, and you're trying to figure out, is this a romantic one or is this a friendship? Sometimes your emotions may lead you to feel like it's supposed to be a romantic one, right? But then you'll look at it and think logically and say, yeah, but I would never marry this person. I know what that would be like, or I know that would not work out, or whatever. Then you have to put a stopper on it. But if your emotions and your logic seem to tie up well, then you need one other part, because here's the thing. Even if your emotions, because your emotions don't last forever. At some point, your emotions are going to fade for this person, and you're not going to feel like you love them. They'll come back. They go up and down, but at some points in your relationship, it's going to go down to like, I don't know if I really like this person. I don't really know if I love them. I don't know if I don't have those feelings. So at that point, you're like, am I supposed to be romantically involved with them, or am I involved with the wrong person? Like, what's going on? Well, then you can have your logic, but your logic's not going to do much for you. That's when you need commitment. You need your commitment to be like, no, I said I'm going to do this, and I'm going to keep on doing it. I'm going to follow this through. And so when it comes to a relationship, how do you know if it's a, romantic one or a friendship? Well, can you trust yourself with all three of those things? If you can, then it's definitely worth the while. It's definitely something that's pursuable. If you look at yourself and say, oh, my emotions are crazy, but my logic, I can tell, it's not, or I don't have the commitment levels to pursue this. I know myself. Well, then go ahead and start working on that, and then make that into something that's tangible, something that's a real relationship. I hope that helps. And that's my follow-up.
Good follow-up.
Thanks.
Hopefully you got something out of that, because that is a tough one. It is a little bit tough to define that the friends versus more than friends, and how do you determine that, and is it an agreement you make with somebody, like, okay, now we're more than friends? I remember being younger.
Never. You were never younger, Joe. You were always 29.
And yeah, I was a 29-year-old fifth grader, and I
oh my gosh. Okay.
And at that point, it's like, you want to be my girlfriend? No. Okay. Let's be boyfriend and girlfriend. Okay. And then we're boyfriend and girlfriend for like an hour and a half, and then that was it,
Yeah, and it's like, what are we doing? Like, I don't get it. All right,
well, we're done. I don't know. We smile bigger at each other or something,
Yeah.
But
smiling as hard as I can. Okay. Actually, I do remember being in a relationship like that before, where I was like in first grade, and then me and this girl went out, and I was like, sweet, I got myself a girlfriend, And then like the next day she comes to school and she's like, all right, so here's the thing. Like, we don't really know what we're doing. And it's not like we can go on dates or anything. We're only in first grade. Like, I can't take you out to go like to the mall. Like, I mean, it's just not going to work. And I was like, to be honest, you're so right. I mean, we totally disagreed with each other. And we're like, yeah, like it was cool while it lasted, but there's like no, like, we're like in first grade. So, and that was that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it gets all crazy. You get older, and then.
Yeah, and then you don't have that tact. You don't have that understanding of like when you're first grade and you realize, hey, I'm in first grade. You get a little bit older and you're like third grade, and you don't realize that you still need to say, I'm just in third grade. I don't know what's going on. And then you're like graduating college, and you still don't realize that you need to say, I'm only in college. Like, I don't know what's going on. No, we never know what's going on, so don't worry about it.
But we always think we do.
Yeah, especially us. That's why we're the ones giving advice.
The very fact that
Oh.
you're here asking the question is impressive, because sometimes I remember when I was younger, I just knew everything.
Mhm.
Nobody was going to tell me any different. I just knew it all.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, it impresses me that people come here to ask questions, because it takes a certain amount of I guess, humility and understanding other people know what can offer something that can provide advice. I think that's really cool, because I know when I was a kid, the last thing I wanted to do was be helped by somebody else. I wasn't the kind of person that was like against helping. Like, I don't mind if people wanted to help me, but if someone said something inspirational and I start to be like, wow, that's really cool, then something else would kick in my mind and be like, yeah, but it's cooler if you come up with yourself. So like, don't even pay attention to what they said. You'll find your own way. You know, it's like weird.
Yep.
Yeah, don't be affected by what they said, even though it's helpful and smart and true. Like,
I know.
Yeah.
And don't be affected if they call you a weirdo, Blake.